Welcome to the Worth Listening podcast, where we focus on having positive and productive conversations around money. I'm your host, Lauren, a 4-time Olympian and certified financial planner. On this show, my guests share their money stories. Everyone has a unique story and experiences both wins and losses when it comes to money. My intent is to give listeners something they can relate to, something that builds their courage to be open and take control of their own money story. When I'm not creating a great show for my listeners, I'm running my company, Worth Winning, where I help individuals and families organize their finances. Check us out at worth-winning.com. All right, now on with the show. The end of the year is quickly approaching, and I know that it is easy for us to push off our goals until right around the new year or in the new year. But the best way to hit the ground running in 2020 is to start planning right now. Yes, it is time. Let's do it. Let's make a difference. So take a moment and look back into 2018 and think about what you said you were going to do in 2019. Did you accomplish it? If not, why not? What do you want different for yourself in 2020? All right, now that you pondered it over, start to lay the foundation. If it has something to do with finances, then you know I got you. So go to worth-winning.com and check me out. Let's fix your money life. All right. Today, I'm excited to have Carol Jones here to share her money memoir with us. Carol is a financial planning apprentice for urban wealth management. This was such a great podcast because Carol's interest in financial planning stems from struggles she experienced in helping her family with everything from budgeting to retirement. I think so often many of us get financial knowledge and can't figure out how to help those directly around us, even though we're in the business of helping others. But Carol is now using her new financial knowledge to inspire her brothers and her family. She has a heart for empowering people, especially women and younger generations, to fulfill their dreams from spiritual, academic, and the financial perspective. Carol's hobbies include reading, writing, traveling, and spending time with her loved ones. She is a great example of how, regardless of what your parents and family were able to teach you about finances when you were young, you can build upon it. She's worked hard to fill the gaps she noticed in her financial upbringing, and now she's working to help her family do the same. Let's listen as Carol shares her money memoir. Carol, thanks so much for being on the show today. I have been waiting to have you on, and I am excited to have you share your money memoir with us.
Woo-hoo, I'm excited. Thank you, Lauren, for the invitation.
All right. Well, let's do a little bit of telling your money story. So I just told everyone a little bit about you, but let's go back to the beginning. Tell us where you're from, how it all started for you. Just break it down. Who is Carol Jones?
Well, Carol Jones is a complex young woman, let me tell you. So where I am from is Linwood, California, born and raised. And it's a kind of a population of over 71,000 people, and raised mostly single parent household with my grandmother. And my mom also supported me. And my father, he's been around, very supportive. They helped really kind of introduce me and teach me some of the basics. All of them really encouraged me to save my money. When I was very young, I had a piggy bank. So I did have that. My mom, she took care of me as well, and it didn't work for a while. She ended up working later at a nursing home, a convalescent home. And my grandmother, she worked as a nurse, and she's still working today, over 50 years. She is a certified nurse's aide. And she was very encouraging about paying off bills on time, being responsible with my money as well. So she was really encouraging in that aspect. My dad, he's been trying to build his own roadside assistance business. He's worked at a few hospitals, helping with event services setup and environmental services, things like that. So a lot of manual labor jobs, blue collar jobs from my household. We didn't have a whole lot. It really pushed me and gave me the drive to really motivate me to make something of myself. My grandmother encouraged me to go to college to get continuous education. My parents always encouraged me to do that as well. So that really kept me going. So I had, I guess, kind of a regular city life and a really supportive family. despite it not being all together. But they really helped me to become stronger and to grow up to know how to take care of myself. So
That's awesome. To hear that you learned from a very early age a lot about savings and they instilled the importance of the piggy bank with you. There was some financial conversations being had in the household. Do you remember kind of like your first memory of money?
I remember, yeah, I had the piggy bank. I know I was around middle school. I think I really started paying more attention because I wanted to go more places. Like I wanted to go to Six Flags, Magic Mountain. I wanted to go to Knott's. I wanted to take different little trips. So I remember saving money for those types of trips. And I remember saving like $70 for a field trip that I went to middle school. And I was just like so proud of myself. So just putting up every little bit of allowance that I got. And even as I kind of went from middle school and into high school, I remember selling candy. I worked also for Project Impact, was like a program for teenagers, preteen teenagers, just doing landscaping work in the city of Linwood. I remember doing that job, and I think I was making like maybe $6.25 an hour. I don't know, it was somewhere around there, $6.75. But I think just from probably late elementary school through middle school and up, I knew I wanted to be involved in some aspect of money so that I could do the things I wanted to do. So as I grew up, I was seeing, and I kind of didn't know about how some bills were being paid. I thought my parents and my grandmother, I thought they had money set aside and they were pretty set. But as I got older, I started to see some of the financial things that they were trying to manage and take care of, and where we were lacking in a lot of areas, and how I could, as I gotten older, be able to help them with that. But yeah, when I was younger, I loved putting up a little bit of change and saving so I could go get some candy or go to this field trip or do this and that. So definitely found saving to be very important for me.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point about this idea that in the household, there are money discussions that are not had, but also there are some things that are instilled. So you remember having enough, you remember being told to save, you remember feeling like you were in one position. And then as you got older and kind of became more aware of what was going on in the world, that your family and your household was in a different financial position. And I think it speaks to this idea that one, that we should be talking about money kind of in the household, but also the resilience of children and the idea that money is not the thing that helps you raise the child. It is the love, it's the intangible things that a kid will remember in a situation where resources are not the thing they're going to remember. It's how they were treated. It's how they were brought up. It's, was my mom always around? Or, did I have the clothes? Like, you didn't really know that you didn't have until you got to a situation of when you could see what others had, that you said like, oh, okay, there are some different classes and we're not really in this class. We might be in this sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I started to see that, I think, as I went through like high school and then, got to college. And I did go to community college. Cerritos College was the college I went to. But in high school, I started off and I was like trying to figure it all out as I started to see, yeah, money is not, we don't have as much as I thought we did. The money that my family was making was not what I thought it was. That was really a concern for me. And it did create a bit of stress. But I do know that my family did all that they could do. And they made sure that food was on the table. They made sure that we had a roof over our head. They made sure I was taken care of, and that everything that I needed to finish high school, even successfully too, as I got older.
What kind of conversations were you all having about college or life after high school and how to fund college, if that was a conversation?
Yeah, that was a bit of a conversation. So I think more so my grandmother always, as I said continuous education is the key. And so my mom and dad, they had high school education. So they never really went to college. My mom went to a community college, here and there, but she didn't get to finish. My dad never really attended, he didn't apply to any college. He just started out working, doing manual jobs. But, with that, I remember saying I wanted to go to college. I was looking at other universities, private schools, all the Cal States, things like that. and trying to see what school I should go to. And I didn't think I would go to community college at the time. And then I was looking at, well, I see how much it costs. Oh my gosh, how are we going to be able to afford that? So I did have conversations with my family, and I know they were saying, well, if this is what you want to do, we'll support you. We'll figure out how we can get the money. We'll figure out how we can save for it. Even if we have to get a loan or do something to help you with this, we'll pay it off. But I believe the route that I had to take going to community college was the better thing for me, given the situation and how I had to push through at home. So that allowed me to be able to afford to go to college, to get the financial aid that I needed. It helped me to figure things out. I did know in high school I wanted to study business or something in business and accounting after I took an accounting class in high school, and a computer accounting class. And it really struck my interest from there. And I was like, I want to do something in this aligned area. And from there, I just was looking at what's the business program. So I knew I definitely wanted to do that. What's accounting? What are the different programs at the different schools I wanted to go to? So after realizing financially wise how much we could do, how much we couldn't do, going to community college was the best thing. And I was like, okay, I'll just take what I need and then I'll transfer it over. I'll try to transfer to a university.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so doing that really contributed, and I took advantage of the programs like EOPS, which was a program that provided book vouchers and things like that. So that really helped me to kind of save. One thing I wish I didn't do really was getting the financial aid and the grants, and sometimes you're spending it on different things that I could have been saving it for. Like I got my books and everything, but like maybe I bought an outfit or stuff like that, where you kind of at that age, you start to think, oh, well, I have this money to kind of pay for what I need and a little extra to spend. So I wish I knew better then about saving.
I mean, I think it's really mature, though, that you guys had the conversation about what's going to be affordable, that college costs money, because so many instances we have not been talked to at all about the cost of education. We've just been told, go get the education, especially in communities with people of color. More and more, our parents are telling us we got to go get the education, but we are not in a financial position where the parents can pay for the education. And so we're being strapped with a bunch of student loan debt because we're trying to take ourselves to the next level to better ourselves. But it is a very, very prudent conversation to have. Like, well, this school costs this much, whereas this school costs this much, and we can get it covered. And community colleges, I think, has a stigma around it where it's like, oh, you're just going to community college, but community college can be a very cost efficient way to go to school. Then, like you said, there's that possibility you go a couple years to community and then you go to a 4-year, and it's the most efficient way that could put you in a position to be financially ahead of somebody who goes immediately to a 4-year school and takes out a bunch of debt to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that plan definitely helped me. By the time I was able to figure out what school I wanted to transfer to, I had a few schools I applied to, and Loyola Marymount University happened to be the university that was best for me within the area. And another thing was scholarships, taking advantage of that at community college level. Even there was a number of scholarships that were available in the financial aid office, and I checked out that rack continuously for applications, and I happened to get 3 scholarships before I transferred to LMU. And that really helped me with that first semester, where I didn't have to take out as much with the student loans. I got a really pretty decent financial aid package too, which really helped me with transferring.
That brings up another really good point about like making the most of the free money that's available. I think so often now student loans become the forefront of the conversation. They become the priority. Like, oh, I don't have money to pay for it. I know this student loan thing is, where do I sign? The fact that you were thinking about like, where can I get free monies? And you were willing to invest the time in figuring out how do I apply for these free monies is also a game changer in how, like you said, your overall financial future comes into play when that's money that you didn't have to borrow. So that's money you didn't have to pay back because someone gave it to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember there's one scholarship. It was like the Laura Scudder. I don't know if you remember Laura Scudder potato chips or peanut butter, but that scholarship was available through Cerritos College, and it was funding business and nursing students. And it was just 2 applicants, myself and another applicant. We both were in the same accounting club together. So that was available and no one else had applied. So that was like $2,500 that helped. So I was just like, why aren't people taking advantage of this? So it's free money.
Yeah. So, are there any instances as you kind of sum up your childhood that you can remember about your financial upbringing that helped you prepare for life financially as an adult? Like, do you see any instances of things that were common occurrences in your childhood that kind of carried over into your adult financial habits?
Like I said again, with paying bills and being prepared, I did see that really strongly through my grandmother too. I just seeing how she handled, she was really not into getting credit card debt. She would make sure she got what she needed, but she would always pay off and budget and keep her bills in order. She always reminded me to be the lender and not the borrower. Don't don't always borrow money from people and then pay it back, and just making sure that you're responsible with your money and that you value money and what it can do for you. You don't worship it, but just seeing that and how she handled and maintained the household, and helping my mom raise me through the early years of when my mom was kind of struggling, too, and even helping our other family, and I think my grandmother was definitely like the matriarch who helped kind of guide, and just seeing her example and her tenacity in doing that was really beneficial. My dad also taught me how to just be responsible, with, getting a car, taking care of paying your car off, and just other type of responsibilities and in maintaining things, and, taking advantage of benefits on your job and stuff like that. So, just hearing from them and seeing even, some of the mistakes they made even along the way, despite that they didn't earn that much, that was kind of motivating as well.
Yeah, that's really cool to have that example and to kind of like be aware of, okay, this is a good thing versus this is a bad thing, and making changes as in light of what you saw that you didn't want to replicate. So, in that vein, as you learned and grew and started to get more information, what happened kind of after you got out of colleges? Like, what was the big kind of like financial surprise or uh-oh, or there's so much that happens when we go from like being under that umbrella of college life when you're not a financial adult, but getting out of school and becoming like straight up adult, figure this out. Now you're on your own. What was the thing that you first had to deal with that you're just like, help us?
I think it was student loans. So definitely coming out of college and just in that grace period where I'm just like, okay, how is this going to work? Thankfully, I did get offered a temp job at LMU working for the library there. I was a student worker. I worked 2 student worker jobs while I was at LMU in the library. So shout out to the library at LMU. But just doing that, and then, upon graduating and then knowing that I had the temp job, but then not knowing if my career prospects were going to look like, trying to apply to jobs and see, okay, how am I going to pay this back off? How am I going to do this? How am I going to be able to balance things? At the time, I had an older car too, and I paid all that off in cash. I owned that car, but it was about time to upgrade. Thankfully, I was able to hold on. I worked that temp job for about 11 months, and then another opportunity came up at LMU where I got to work for the budget director in the provost office. And so by doing that and supporting that office, I was able to get more benefits, get better pay, and just be able to kind of manage my student loans and manage my other expenses and bills. So thankfully, I was able to do that. And just seeing, I think, too, at home, that the need for a retirement plan, which I'm glad that I took advantage of that when I first started my first full-time job, because I did, notice that, none of my family and my grandmother, even though she was responsible with her bills and things like that, she didn't have a retirement plan. And so as I got older, I was able to help her with that. But, as I was in college and finishing and knowing that she didn't have that in place, that concerned me too, because at the time I was like, I didn't know, she's getting older. Is she going to be okay while I'm trying to get my career together, while I'm trying to to get these student loans down. I got the degree. Now, how am I going to do the rest of this and still kind of help my family and give back to them for how they gave to me?
Yeah, I think that brings up a really good point about how sometimes when we're thinking about our financial future, we think of it in a silo. So it's like, what needs do I need to meet right now versus what needs I need to meet in the future? And sometimes we never get to what needs do I need to meet in the future because we're only focusing on the right now. But the other thing on top of that is like, not just my needs, what about other people around me? Especially in communities where people have not had the opportunity to, like you said, become financially stable or financially independent on their own because they were first generation in this country or first generation to go to college, or there's so many different things that held people back from earning. But who is going to let their grandmother or their mother live on the street or not have what they need in retirement? And so it brings to light this other kind of aspect of, I'm starting to save for myself, or maybe I'm living in the moment and not even thinking about saving for myself. But I also have these responsibilities of other people who did not save and can no longer earn. And so I need to take that into consideration and factor that into my own financial planning.
Absolutely.
And it's a really big deal when we think about like how to create financial wellness and how to create a financial future for ourselves when there's multiple responsibilities right here front and center. How can I save for my retirement, save for somebody else who didn't save for retirement, save for spend right now, and cover all these different expenses? It's like a lot of balls to juggle. But it sounds like you kind of figured that out on the front end, like, hey, this is important and this is the way I'm going to handle it. So how did you figure all that out?
Yeah, with everything. So working full time, I was able to, pay my car off. I had 3 student loans, but I had a smaller loan and a private loan. That first loan, I paid that loan off and helping my family. At the time, I didn't know really anything about financial planning in college, which another thing I keep saying, and I hear a lot of people keep saying, is like they need to teach personal finance 101 in school, like probably, elementary school to start and keep it continually through college. But learning how to balance things and get that straight. I know once I got myself the connections I needed as I was working at the provost office, then I ended up getting another opportunity working at LMU for the dance department there. And I was able to just continue saving, helping my family. I went back to grad school to get my MBA. So that was another little rack of student loan that I had to take out because there was nothing in place for me with college. But I did it because I knew I needed to do it. And I'm first generation. And so I did that. And then I started looking into financial planning and trying to find out more. So later along, just a couple of years ago or so, I sought out to help my grandmother to finally get her retirement established. So I reached out to a woman named Dorinda King who works at Urban Wealth Management, and she used to work at LMU. And I was like, I need a financial advisor for my grandmother. I remember going to a credit union and trying to get financial guidance and help my grandmother. And he wouldn't return the calls, or he just wasn't helpful. But it didn't seem like he really had interest. And he was just like, yeah, you put 2,000 down. And then he was giving advice, but he didn't seem like he really wanted to genuinely build a relationship to try to help support. So that concerned me. So I was like, I need to find some help for our family and kind of get ourselves financially fit in a better position. So that's when I reached out to Dorinda and we connected. I was interested in the career as I was going through grad school, and I was trying to find out, what other women and women of color too that are doing this type of work. From there, we connected. She wasn't working at Urban Wealth Management at the time, but we were able to meet up, bring my grandmother in, get her retirement plan set up. And even though it was late in the game, it was still good to see her get something put aside and have something going. So once we did that, then things started shifting. I graduated, got my MBA, and that was at Hope International University. And then after that, I ended up connecting with Renee Norris on LinkedIn throughout that time. And I reached out to her, kind of stayed in touch with her while I was in grad school, and then ended up getting an internship at Urban Wealth Management last summer. So through that, I was like, oh, well, and then Dorinda joined and jumped on board at UWM. And so I was like, oh, so I'll just bring my grandmother on over. So I've been able to help my grandmother with that and kind of help her see the importance of building a nest egg try to save and do that. And I've been trying to do that with my mom and my dad as well, and encouraging them to like make sure they get, if they made mistakes, let's help get you back on track. Let's help you get your debts paid. Now that I'm learning, trying to help them.
That is so awesome. This is such a wonderful story. There's so many different aspects of it. Is a female joining the financial planning industry. And so finding financial planning, I think, is one of the things that is really tough for people to do. They don't know. Like, there's not very many examples of professionals in communities of color, but even across the board, there are so many different professions out there that we don't know exist. You got to think within a company, like, what does Spotify do? They play music and people are like, oh, someone created an app and there's an app for that. Spotify is a huge company with an operations person and a researcher that does research on what the algorithms are for what songs should be playing. And I don't know the titles of those different positions, but there are so many different professions out there that people don't realize exist. And financial planning is one of them. And I think us finding financial planning, which is different too from financial advising, and in my opinion, like, the words are tomato, tomato, but there's a group of people out there that just spend their time trying to sell people as much as they possibly can. And that doesn't actually provide planning. That's not really talking about what to do with your future. And it's actually very damaging to many communities because they're being taken advantage of by people who are selling something without actually looking at all they need. So for you to be looking for answers for your family and to be able to help your family by joining this profession has been a game changer. Like you said, you were talking about making mistakes and being able to rectify the mistakes of family members. That has to be really rewarding work, not just because you get to serve the public, but you also get to serve the people that are directly related to you and impact people that you really, really, truly care about.
Right, right. Yes, that definitely stirred up my passion and interest in financial planning. I was trying to see, is this really what I want to do? Because I know it can be a tough industry from what I'm hearing and what I'm learning, but I just feel like I'm just led to do it. And I see my calling going in that direction. Don't know what it's going to look like, but from my family experiences, I'm like, there has to be more answers. We have to figure out how we can build generational wealth. So many people of color, especially, you need to know how to not show our wealth on the outside. It's not just about what you're wearing and your cars and all of that, but are you not only financially fit, but are you mentally fit? Are you physically fit? You got to make sure all of that is in shape. And that's what wealthy is to me. Is everything intact? Are you maintaining your finances well? Have you built an emergency fund? How are you saving? Are you in massive debt trying to impress people? So I think we just need more financial education. And I was like, I want to be a part of that conversation because I've seen the highs and lows with my family and the mistakes even that I've made trying to learn and grow coming out of college and working and the goals that I have. And I'm just like, how do we get to that point? What is estate planning? I need to help my grandmother with that. We have to get wills and trusts established, for my family and for myself. And so those are the things that I'm like, okay, I want to learn more about this. How do we get this taken care of? Who's out there doing this? Anybody who looks like me too that's doing it. It's been really rewarding to make connections and to learn and grow, even at Urban Wealth Management. It's really been a help to me. And they have great webinars too that are free that I've been listening to. And that's been helping me and my family.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Like, yeah, it sounds like you're gathering all the information. What would you say, though, is the biggest kind of financial failure or something that you suffered from to date as you've gone through this kind of process of learning and growing and getting more information about finances? I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that financial planners are perfect. And once you find this information, you never make any mistakes. But nobody's perfect. And there's quite a bit that happens in anyone's financial life. So tell us a little bit about something that happened that you had to kind of recover from.
Yeah. I do wish I had saved up when I was working more for grad school too. I wish I had put up some more money. I wish that I hadn't taken out credit card. I did have some credit card debt. I did have an incident that happened. I think it was about 4 years ago, maybe no, about 3 years ago. My mother, she was working for about 18 years at the nursing home I mentioned. And so she ended up losing her job. And so she encountered some health issues. And so I had to help her with that. And I had to endure some credit card debt to try to help her just kind of get herself back on track. But I wish that I had had an emergency fund and had some money saved up more. I probably had spent a little more than I needed to earlier, in my years when I first had a full-time job. So I just wish I had put aside more money for things that may have come up. Sometimes we don't know, life hits you, family gets sick, things happen, household incomes change. Those were life lessons that I wish I had learned earlier.
Gotcha. I think those are all, you said some things that many of us wish we would have learned earlier on. But it's all rooted in, at the end of the day, like you said, our ability to be open, to be transparent, to have discussions so that we know the information so that we are not in a position to make mistakes. So frequently our mistakes come from ignorance. We didn't know this thing, so we didn't know to do better because we didn't have the right information. And it's so important to be having conversations with others so that you can be getting information about what's the best way to handle your finances and how to avoid pitfalls with your finances. So, what do you do now to talk to people around you, maybe your friends or others in your social circles? What kind of conversations are you guys having about money? Or is it still something that's a little bit of an awkward discussion?
Well, right now, I know I encourage I have student workers too at the dance office that I'm working at right now. That as soon as you get that job that offers, retirement plan, take advantage of it. That was some advice that I also received, in being aware and seeking out those answers now. The conversations I've had, I have a really close friend too, has been a mentor to me. Yolanda is her name. And we kind of talk about different money matters and just the importance of having a money market account or having some type of some type of account that will yield a higher interest rate, and also just saving more. I have some friends who don't talk really much about their money and don't want you to know about their money. And even with family too, not the immediate, but the kind of distant family, that's still a conversation that doesn't really happen a whole lot. But just investing more, I think too, I hear from others as well. And I just encourage people to just be aware and check what is their situation. See, does your family have everything in place? Do they have an estate plan in place? Do they have a will? If you don't have a will in house, you all should be sitting down and having that conversation. Just different things like that to kind of prepare for what happens in life, and avoiding things go sent through probate, which I've heard is a horrible situation. And that's something that I'm also learning with my family. Like, we need to take care of those type of matters before they hit us. Having conversations like that, I like to have more of those conversations with my friends, and just how we can try to be more financially savvy with our money, and banking smarter and saving smarter, and just being wiser.
Gotcha. Okay. It has been so cool learning more about you, but we have reached what I like to call the final sprint, where you're going to tell us a few quick things, whatever first thing is that rolls off your mouth. Are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
All right. You've got $20 in your pocket right now. What do you spend it on?
At this point, I know now I don't. I save it in a money jar.
Yes, I love it. The money jar. Let's put it in the money jar.
Yes.
Finish this sentence. That awkward financial moment when
you forget your PIN number at the checkout line.
Ooh, that's a little bit awkward.
Yes.
All right. What is your worst money habit?
Let's see. My worst money habit, I would say probably if I treating myself. But I think sometimes I spend too much on food. So, I love good food. And yeah, and clothes. I've gotten better with clothes, but I'm working on it.
What about your best money habit?
Best money habit, I would say tracking my spending. I'm good for creating spreadsheets and tracking all of my bills and my expenses and trying to see what I can improve on. So, yeah.
Okay. I like it. What about something that you do for fun that doesn't cost anything?
I would say going for a relaxing walk, like in the park or along the beach, and reading a book. I know books cost money, but reading a book. I'm just starting to read The Millionaire Next Door and two other books that my friends wrote. He Is Who I Worship and Hope in the Wilderness. There are two other books. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And books can be free if you go to the library.
True that. True that. Yes.
All right. So I have one last question for you. What do you want to improve about your own personal finances in the upcoming year?
I have a little bit of credit card debt left, so I definitely want to pay that down. So I'm working on that. I've been trying to make payments in intervals throughout the month, in addition to paying over the minimum, which you should never pay, just the minimum. And I did get my student loans established. I did look into the best plans and I got that fixed and got a payment that works better for me. So I definitely have been working on that and would like to get all of that paid off. And I will.
That is so awesome. So what's like the big action item that's going to make sure that you achieve that goal?
So I took care of the student loan thing, looked into that. I had some subscriptions and monthly annual things that I was charging to my card too. So I was looking at that, seeing what I can cut off, what I can change and modify, and paying that down as quickly as possible. I was looking at like the snowball effect and things like that. So I was trying to find what works feasible with my budget to pay all of that off. So yeah, I'm working on a plan.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, we have made it to the finish line. You are a worth listening medalist. You're standing on the podium now. Please do tell us all about how we can support you, where we can find you. This community is one that is all about sharing and caring. So tell us how we can take you to the next level.
Absolutely. Well, you can find me first and foremost on LinkedIn under Carol Jones, that's CarolJones, MBA. And also check out my friend, my mentor, Dr. Yolanda Dawson, and we started a Instagram page and soon to be blog that we're building called Sisters Walking in Wisdom. And that's sisterswalkinginwisdom.com. Website will be up soon. We have some great articles on relationships that we're working on, faith-based, for women. And also just check out the firm that I'm currently still apprenticing for, Urban Wealth Management, at urbanwm.com. And they have great webinars and excellent resources for families and women. So I would say also support that firm as well. They're amazing, all women staffed. So yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So thanks so much for being on the show, Carol. We really appreciate you dropping all the knowledge and being so transparent with us about your money story. And I look forward to seeing you do awesome in the future.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Great being on the show.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Carol's Money Memoir. I think a lot of times we make assumptions about people's financial upbringing and kind of draft it into one of two categories. So either you were taught nothing about finance or you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It's not okay for us to make assumptions about anybody's life. And as we learned from Carol today, there are so many twists and turns that are a part of everyone's unique financial upbringing. So let's remember to consider all that anyone may have gone through, the things you don't see by just looking at a person, the assumptions that can't be made by surface level things that we perceive. Let's take a moment to look inside of the box. Our word of the day today is scholarships. When people think of scholarships, they usually jump to thinking full ride athletic or academic scholarships given by the university. But as Carol mentioned, there are lots of smaller scholarships out there, and a lot of people are not applying for them. These smaller scholarships can go a long way in helping to cover some or all of basic college expenses. I know I preach it all the time, but student loans should not be the default as the way to pay for college. So make sure that you are considering all your options. And if you are well past this phase, think about who might need encouragement or help in applying for scholarships. Yes, we all know the education system is broken and it can seem like more than one person can tackle. But if we want to see change, we need to invest our time one person at a time. And everybody knows one person that we can invest our time in to help them make better decisions. And therefore, we can all gather momentum toward making changes in the educational system and the way that it's paralyzing people's financial future. Your part is not too small. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you found this episode worth listening to. If you have questions, suggestions for guests, or would like to share your money memoir with us, please don't hesitate to go to our website and reach out, worth-listening.com.